Welcome in, everyone, to the Blue Demon Room podcast, where DePaul Athletics brings you stories of its student athletes, coaches, and alumni. I'm your host, Casey Standahar, and I'm thrilled to introduce our next guest on the podcast, DePaul cross-country and track athlete, Damian Rodriguez. Damian, thanks for being on the show with us today.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. We are thrilled to have you, and we're currently hosting this interview right now in the Sullivan Athletic Center, which, if you don't know, is covered in huge photos of DePaul's top athletes, and you're one of them.
Yes.
Have you seen that photo, and how is it like when you walk by? Do you notice it? Did anyone tell you that it was going to be there?
I definitely kind of look up at it every time I walk by. It kind of still shocks me every time I see my face blown up like that. But
you're like, whoa.
Yeah, so I was actually on it last year, and so that was when I originally got put up there, and I had no idea it was going up. No one told me, and I think it was over the summer, and so I didn't actually see it for a couple of weeks until someone had told me. They're like, "Hey, like you're up on the wall," and I was like, "Oh my God, really?"
That's really cool.
It was shocking, but it's pretty cool to be up there and see myself.
Yeah, just a huge like life-size version of yourself.
Yeah,
that's awesome. Very cool. Well, you just got back from the Big East Cross Country Championship a few days ago in Virginia. You finished 22nd out of 85 for the 8K. Obviously a great finishing time, the best on the team. What's your response to your finishing time?
You know, coming across the finish line, I originally wasn't too happy with it, only because my goal was top 20, just to be all conference. DePaul hasn't really had an all conference athlete in cross country in like many, many years. So that was kind of my goal going into it. Falling just short of it was kind of a sucker, but you know, looking back at it, and like you said, that is my highest finish at a cross country or Big East cross country meet. And so that's something positive to take out of it. And yeah, I mean, it was a tough course, but still able to take some positives out of it.
Sure. You're probably your own toughest critic, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I imagine so. You seem really confident, like calm, cool, collected. You've been doing this for 5 years now, fifth year running, not only at the collegiate level, but your just experience even before that. Do you still go to your coaches for advice, help, guidance?
I don't really. I mean, my coach will kind of give me some tips here and there, mostly like the day before the meet or the day of the meet, kind of when I'm getting ready, warming up for the actual race. Just kind of give me little tips like, you're ready for this, like go out there, have fun, stuff like that. But it's kind of all to myself, kind of night before the race is when I really start to prepare. And I've been doing it for 5 years now, so I got the gist down.
You're like, I got it.
Yeah.
But that extra motivation, I'm sure, helps. But how do those conversations change from your freshman year to now?
Yeah, I think freshman year was a lot about confidence, making sure that I really am like ready for the race. But now it's just kind of little things where, like I said, he's kind of like, you're ready. Just go out there, do it, have fun.
What are some of the highlights? I mean, you had your career best experience not too long ago, but what are some of the highlights for you when you look back in your career?
Oh, I have a lot of highlights, but I think this season has been the highest. Definitely having the best season so far. Won my first race, that first meet of the year, that 4 mile at NIU, and then came back at Loyola and got second place there. Had a PR. My PR before that was from junior year, so actually I didn't even PR last year. So being able to PR again this year felt great, and then actually 2 weeks later, going back to Bradley Pink, was able to PR again. And so we're just taking a lot of big steps in the right direction going into postseason.
Yeah, they say growth isn't really linear, but it seems like over the years you've just continued to do better and better. Yeah. Is it kind of like the perfect scenario for you, or what are some of those ups and downs like?
Yeah, I mean, it's nice to be able to have this final season and, really coming out on top. But, sometimes can't always get better and better every week. So you just kind of got to learn from those and work ahead.
Let's go back to the Husky opener on September 6th. You finished first in the 4 mile, your first time ever finishing first, correct?
Correct, yes.
Can you take me back to that experience and what your emotions were like in that moment?
Yeah, I mean, going into it, I think that was my goal, was to win the race. It's kind of hard to put a time down when you don't really know what to expect going into like a course and kind of the competition there. But yeah, I mean, my goal was to win, and getting out there, I'd say about 2 miles in was when I think it was me and one guy from Western Illinois broke away from the pack, and it was just kind of us for the last loop. And, I kind of was like, this is my race to lose. So I really wanted to get out there and, push that last mile, which is what I was able to do. Broke away from that last runner and kind of was just, riding it in, feeling good. So it was great.
That's awesome. You're one of the few athletes that runs both track and cross country. For the folks who don't know, how do they differ, and is the preparation a little bit unique?
Yeah, it's definitely different. I mean, cross country's in the fall and it's all on grass, different courses, not one is the same. And so every race really is different.
Yeah.
But track, we have an indoor season, an outdoor season, which is in the winter, and then the spring. Indoor track is typically a 200-meter indoor track. Some places have bigger ones, like 300 meters. But yeah, I mean, like I run the 800 and the mile, and so going from 8K, which is about 5 miles, down to half a mile is a big difference.
Yeah.
And so it's very speed oriented, and so the workouts are completely different. We're really hammering 200s, 400s, 600s, and then still keep maintaining our endurance. So some of that aspect still stays when it comes to track. Just hitting some tempos. 4-mile tempos typically don't go a lot higher than that, but yeah, I mean, they're big differences. I think preparing for them it's kind of all over the place. But,
Yeah. Imagine that could be tough sometimes, where it changes so much season to season.
Yeah, it is tough, but I mean, after cross country, you really do get about 6 weeks or so to kind of try and flip that switch and get that speed back. So it is hard transition, but we do have a little bit of time to be able to get that.
By the end of this cross-country season, your final season, is there any certain record or accomplishment that you're vying to get to?
Yeah, I wouldn't say there's really a record, but going into this last regional meet, I think my goal is to be all region. So that's, I believe top 25. We had an athlete last year do it, 2 years ago, Shane Canan should do it, and that was really cool to see. And so that's a goal of mine that I'm trying to get.
How are you feeling now that it's winding down and your final season's almost over?
Yeah, I mean, I really don't think it's hit me yet.
Yeah.
I'd say I'm not ready for it. But, yeah, to know that I kind of won't ever run another cross-country race, it's kind of hard, but, let's kind of try not to think about it.
Right. But again, it's not really over because you'll be preparing for track.
Yeah.
So what made you decide to run in both sports?
Oh, I think it's kind of natural, especially in high school. I mean, usually when you're running cross country, the coaches are the same. And so, there's not like a change you have to make there. But, yeah, it's just kind of like if you run cross country, it's going to help you out for track. If you run track, it's going to help you out for cross country.
Sure.
So they kind of just go hand in hand. And I think that was kind of a decision that was just kind of made once I joined cross country.
How do you decompress after you run, and in those 6 weeks between seasons, how are you kind of relaxing, chilling, getting ready for that?
It's really no relaxing or chilling, unfortunately. Like I said, coming up to the end of cross country after our final race, I might get like maybe 3 days off where I'm not running, and then after that, the next week might be like 1 day on, 1 day off, 1 day on, 1 day off, and then kind of jump right back into training. It's not a whole lot of time to kind of relax, but those few days where I do don't have to run, they are kind of just really sitting down, laying down, trying to not do anything really.
Yeah. Obviously running, very tough on the body, especially on your knees. How do you recover and remain healthy the entire year?
Yeah, I think it's just staying on the same schedule, kind of trying to run around the same time every morning, same practice time, and then, at practice, really paying attention to little things like drills, strides, stretching, all of our like little recovery things that we do at practice. Just really staying on top of those things, I think, is what really helps me stay healthy. So
obviously the mental game is a big part of it too, and athletes always talk about that. I think it's more prominent in running because it's really just you and straightforward the course, right? Like the track. So for your brain, if we could mic up your brain, what would that self-talk sound like? Oh,
I think the big thing that would be screaming is, when can we stop? But no, I mean, you really do have to stay really, really, really into, like, stay focused the whole time. I mean, when you're in a cross-country race, sometimes you'll find yourself running alone. And, I mean, it's hard, especially when you're at a course that doesn't have a lot of spectators, really spread out. And so you don't really have anyone yelling at you to, push ahead or anything like that. So, yeah, I mean, it is really just you and your thoughts. So it can get tough, but, I try and tell myself, keep your head in the game. You know, a lot of times I try to tell myself, don't think, just do.
Yeah.
So that's a big one for me.
I love that. When you're doing a really short distance, is there anything like you say to yourself to kind of get fired up quickly, or is it the same kind of self-talk?
Same kind of self-talk. I mean, not a whole lot changes, but I mean,
Okay.
it is a little bit easier to know on the track.
Right.
I only have, you know, 2 laps, 3 laps, 4 laps, rather than 5 miles.
When you're doing an 8K or a 10K and you're pushing toward those last few kilometers, are you feeling pain, or is it like setting in after your body kind of settles down a little bit?
It's definitely all pain. I mean, those last.
You're making it sound great.
Oh, it's. I mean, I know it's a lot of pain, but it is fun. You know, especially when you're coming through that last, you know, K, 2K or so. You're really trying to get every man you can. You know, every person counts when it comes to team score. So really, it is trying to just catch as many people as you can, and you know, finish and having fun.
When you're practicing and training, do you listen to any music?
No, the only time I'll listen to music is if I'm cross training. So if I'm,
Okay.
you know, on the elliptical or on the bike or something like that. But, you know, when I'm actually running with some of the guys on the team. So, you know, we kind of just stir up conversations
Right.
and, you know, make fun of it.
Getting yourself ready for what it's actually going to feel like.
Exactly.
That's cool.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to take a quick break with Damian Rodriguez, and we'll be right back after this on the Blue Demon Room podcast. We are back on the Blue Demon Room podcast. I'm your host, Casey Standahar, and I'm joined by Damian Rodriguez, DePaul cross country and track athlete.
That's right.
Damian, thank you again for being here. I want to know what a typical cross country practice looks and feels like.
Yeah. So practice really starts in the morning. I run twice a day, pretty much every day, except for maybe once or twice a week. So, you know, kind of get up, get out for a run. Usually I hit my longer runs in the morning. So anywhere from, you know, 5 to 8, 9, 10 miles or so. And then head to practice at 2:45, you know, hit an active warm up, you know, a couple stretches here and there. And then talk with our coach, kind of see what we have for the day. If it's just a recovery run, you know, we'll get out there, get a couple miles in, you know, 4, 5, 6 miles, and then come back, hit some, you know, recovery stuff. But if we have a workout, you know, it's a much more intense day. We'll go out there, hit a 2-mile warm-up or so, get some drills in, and then hit a workout, whether it's a tempo or a fartlek. You know, really got to stay focused and ready for those, because a lot of times, you know, workouts translate to races. And
Sure.
So, you know, if you got a good workout, you can have a good race. If you have a bad workout, you know, it might not end up so great when it comes to the race. So really try to stay focused for those workout days. So those will be, you know, Tuesdays or Fridays and Saturdays. So, yeah, kind of differs here and there, but, you know, the gist of it, get out for a run.
So are you someone that gets up really early, and like, are there days when you're like, oh man, I don't want to do this. How do I find the motivation? What do you do?
Yeah, there's definitely a couple days where, you know, you wake up and you're pretty sore from the day before. And so you're like, I really don't want to do this. But I think a big thing is running with people. A lot of times we'll meet up with a couple guys on the team in the morning to, you know, get out there and run. So that's big motivation is my team. So that always helps.
Speaking of your team, how is it running with them during practice and then knowing you're going to compete against them when it comes time to the race?
Yeah, I mean, we're all really great friends. So going out there for a run, you know, is really fun. And I mean, it's probably one of the best times of my day. But, you know, then going into a race and having to compete against these guys, I mean, it is kind of like a bloodbath out there on the course.
Yeah.
So, you know, obviously, when it comes to our teammates, if we're passing someone in the middle of a race, you know, we want to bring them along with us. You know, if someone's dying and you pass them, it kind of gives them that burst to, you know, run with someone. So it is kind of, you know, we are competing against each other, but at the same time, we are competing with each other, and we're all going to contribute to the same team points.
Sure.
So, you know, try to work together as well.
Yeah, I love that. Is there any specific teammate that you kind of have like a friendly rivalry with, or inside jokes with about
I'd say
that?
my roommate, Joe Cananishio, him and I went to high school together as well. So we've always had that competition against each other. During high school, we were always neck and neck. And so, you know, it's nice to have that little friendly battle.
I love that.
Yeah.
In a lot of your team's media day photos, you can be seen wearing hard hats.
Yeah.
What is behind that?
We saw those actually over the summer when they were doing all the renovations here in the AC. And so we saw the Demon on it, the Demon hat on it, and we're like, oh, that's cool. So we kind of, we actually talked to Dwayne Peavy, asked if we could get those. And he's like, once the construction's done, maybe. And we knew our strength coach had one in his office, and we're like, oh, can we get that for media photos? And when we first did it, we were just kind of joking around. But then after, we're like, oh, it's like kind of the motto of like men at work,
Yeah.
trying to work for the season. So
Hashtag
it's
men
kind
at
of
work.
cool. Yeah.
Wait, I love that. I love that they're the authentic hats. So they're
Yeah.
not like a replica. That's great. Running is a unique sport because there's space for individuals to compete outside of collegiate athletics or maybe an Olympic structure. Post graduation, do you plan on having running as a part of your routine?
Honestly, I've thought about it. I've gone back and forth. I think if you asked me like a year or two ago, I'd say no. But now, as we're kind of coming to the end of it, it's changing. I think part of me wants to continue running, maybe hit some marathons, maybe stay on the track. So I think right now I'm 50-50, but I think as the season goes on and I have less and less races, I think it kind of grows that I want to continue running.
Right.
So
It's almost like you're knowing that it's coming to an end and you're like, wait, I'm not ready for
exactly.
for it to be fully out of my life.
Yeah, so
Very
I guess
cool.
we'll see.
Let's go back to that. When you were first introduced to the sport of running, you said you got into it because you got over 100 on the pacer test in gym.
Yeah.
Tell us more about that.
Yeah, so I mean, I never ran. I did a lot of sports growing up, so I was pretty active. I did soccer and I was a midfielder, so I was pretty, running around a lot. So I think that's kind of what started my passion for running. But yeah, like I was in the pacer and I had friends on the cross country team. When I was just running the pacer with them, I, got over 100 on it. And it was after that all my friends were like, dude, you got to come out, run for the cross country team. Like, obviously you have the stamina and stuff like that. So I already had friends on the team. And so a pretty easy decision to just kind of try out for it. And it went out really well. I mean, my first year running was 8th grade, and coming onto a team that was already at the top of the state for middle schoolers, I just was able to help them out. I got 5th place at state that year, helped my team win that state title. So
That's awesome.
yeah, I mean, that's kind of where it all started.
So you credit your stamina to soccer and basketball, those other sports, but was it hard giving those things up to focus solely on running?
Yeah, I mean, I played soccer ever since I was, could walk and like kick a ball. So that was always something that I did. But I think as I grew older, I think I fell out of love for the sport. And so that one wasn't as hard to walk away from,
Right.
I think. I think I stopped there maybe 6th or 7th grade. So it was actually before I started running. But it was basketball that actually was a hard one to give up. I played 7th and 8th grade for the school. And then going into high school, I wanted to play, and that's during the winter. And so that would take up my indoor season. So it was pretty hard to give up that just because, I love basketball. And so to have to give that up and, run
Yeah.
full time, it was hard, but I mean, in the long run, it works out. So
You're in your first year competing as a grad student. How has that changed with classes and those different responsibilities with how you practice?
I'd say I have a lot more free time during the day. I have a lot of night classes now. So it kind of actually, I think it gives me a little bit more time to relax and recover during the day instead of, going to practice.
Yeah.
Or going to classes and then practice straight from there. It is a little bit more relaxing, but as far as the the workload, it is kind of a lot more, especially with grad school being a lot of group work.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard finding time where I can actually meet with my group members, and so there is that struggle there. But I mean, we work around it and make it work.
2 episodes ago, we had Ashley Kudimat on the
Yes.
show, your girlfriend, and she is a DePaul volleyball setter. She told us that you had met through people who were friends on the volleyball team, like friends of friends. We want to hear your side of the story.
Yeah.
How'd you guys meet?
So she is 1 year younger, and so my freshman year, I was friends with a lot of the volleyball people in my class, and so coming into sophomore year, we were always just hanging out, and that's when Ashley came in to DePaul, and so we just kind of started hanging out, talking through mutual friends. And yeah, I mean, just kind of how it all started.
I love
and then,
this love.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we started dating about maybe like 8 months after we actually started,
Okay.
like, getting to know each other. So had some time to get to know each other
Yeah.
and talk for a little bit before we tied that knot.
That's great.
Yeah.
Ashley mentioned that it's nice dating a fellow athlete because you kind of understand each other in a different way, and
Yeah.
you're able to kind of pick each other up after a tough loss or not a
Certainly.
great finish. How do you pick yourself back up after those races where it's not your best?
I think it's talking to people. Like Ashley said, we can kind of pick each other up. And so, you know, I'm always talking with her after my race. She's always on top of it when it comes to either watching my race if she can, or, you know, being on her phone, watching those results, splits come through. And so I think anytime I finish a race and after my cool down, go to my phone, I always have that text from Ashley. So it's good to be able to see that and, you know, have her support there, especially if I don't have the race that I would have liked. She knows where I want to finish and the times I want to hit. And so when she realizes that it might have not been such a great race, she knows how to pick me up and support me. So
is there a certain like thing she says that kind of makes you feel better? Because I imagine like you like hearing similar things from family and friends, kind of reminding you of what you're good at, you know, what you want to do. So is there anything specific that really helps?
I don't think there's anything specific. I think it's just seeing her support there. And that just kind of helps in general. So, yeah.
Right. So there's obviously going to be a slight hole in the team once you leave, right? This is your last season wrapping up. What would you say to your teammates who will be running without you next year at DePaul?
I think it's going to be tough for them. I think they'll be all right, you know.
Yeah.
But it is a big chunk of our team that's heading out, you know, with this COVID year and everything like that. We have a lot of grad students and people that are in their 5th and 6th year. And so there's 4 out of the 5 guys of our top 5 that are, you know, heading out. And so it is a pretty big gap that will form there. But, yeah, I mean, we got some great guys, a lot of good freshmen, good sophomores that can step up. And if they can step up and get some, you know, better recruits out here, then they'll be all right. They'll figure it out.
Any post-grad plans that you have in mind career-wise, or any fun vacations or anything?
Nothing planned as of right now. But yeah, just kind of starting to work. This past summer, I interned with McDonald's corporate and received a return offer, so I've accepted that. So I got a job lined up, which is great.
Great.
But yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to play a quick game, quick answer. You kind of have to like think of the first thing that comes to your mind. Don't overthink it.
Okay.
Okay? All right, we'll start now. First instinct. Which shoe do you tie first before a race?
Left.
That's why.
Oh, I don't know.
That's amazing. I love that. Who is the first person to tell good news to?
My girlfriend, Ashley, yeah.
What is the best time of day for a run?
In the morning, definitely around 8 or 9.
Favorite Olympic track and field event to watch?
Ooh, 1500 for sure. There's always a lot of jostling there, and it's my event as well. So
sure. If you weren't a runner, what sport would you play?
I think I'd want to say basketball. I don't know how to compete with a lot of these college athletes. So
I think you could hang. Do you use a running app, and if so, which one?
I use Strava. Definitely the best running app out there. It's like my favorite social media app.
If you didn't minor in Spanish, which language would you most want to learn?
Ooh, French, maybe? No
Oui.
reason why. I don't know.
Have you ever done the chocolate milk mile?
I have not done the chocolate milk mile. I plan to, maybe.
Wait, can you tell our audience who doesn't know what it is? Because I just learned what this is, and I'm kind of grossed out by
Yeah,
it.
so chocolate milk mile, so you start with, I want to say, I think it's a pint. It's a pint of milk. You chug it. You run a lap. Chug another pint of milk, run a lap. Chug another pint of milk, run a lap. So you run a mile, but between every lap, you chug a pint.
Are people okay during that? Like, are they throwing up?
I don't think anyone's okay after that. A lot of people will throw it up, and technically you are disqualified if you do throw it up. So to be able to, consider a real finish, you
This is
do have
torture.
to hold it in.
This is a terrible thing. This should be banned.
It is awful. I personally have not done it, but I have been there when people have done it, and it is not a pretty sight.
Wow. Okay, back to the game. What is your favorite pre-run snack?
A Pop-Tart, I think.
Which flavor?
My favorite is brown sugar cinnamon.
Me too. Or the s'mores one. It's good.
The s'mores one, my second would probably be strawberry, but brown sugar cinnamon is a staple.
Okay. Last question. What is your favorite Chicago sports team?
The Chicago Bulls, for sure.
Hopefully they need a better year this year.
Yeah, a little disappointing previous years, but hopefully we're on the rise. Hopefully, so.
Well,
yeah.
Damian, you didn't hesitate at all. You answered those questions perfectly. Thank you so much for joining us on the Blue Demon Room podcast. We wish you the best of luck through the rest of the season and beyond
Thank you.
at McDonald's corporate. So really happy for you. Thank you for being a guest.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It was a blast.
Awesome. Well, that was our episode with Damian Rodriguez on the Blue Demon Room podcast. Be sure to listen on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, also on Marquee Sports Networks, and YouTube. We'll see you next time.